Okay.
Hello, this is our communications theory project for week 1. I'm Levi, and I did the AI portion of most of the AI portion of our project. I use Copilot's AI, owned by Microsoft, and my steps to getting what I thought would be the best results. I asked what kind of proof would be needed for it to summarize things, because sometimes it has weird copyright laws. And then I asked it to summarize chapter 5. I personally think it did a lot better job summarizing chapter 5, but we will be doing chapter 6, because sometimes the AI gets a little bit weird when you ask it to repeat the same command. I'm not exactly sure why. I tried positive reinforcing the first one because it did it well, and I think that it did a lot less of a good overview of it, and we think it's missing quite a bit, but it did do a good job of explaining an overview of it. Isaiah?
Yeah, so at least in my studies of comparing the book to the AI, I found it very strange that there was definitely some kind of copyright problem somewhere, because all the overlying facts it provided were just kind of very generalized, watered down ideas that could apply to essentially any book. For instance, in the start of the book, we go into a very fascinating, frankly, discussion on communication and how it creates social worlds between the communicating people. So anytime you communicate with someone else, you're actively creating an alternate reality, if you will, where the two of you are actively communicating and shifting your understanding of each other, the world, etc. Even on something as simple as maybe talk about what you had for dinner or whatever. But the AI managed to start with point 1, and the only points it gave for the first 2 to 3 chapters, as far as I can tell, is it said point 1, rethinking communication beyond transmission, traditional model, communication as a linear transfer of meaning from the sender to the messenger to the receiver. CMM's challenge, communication isn't just about exchanging information, it's about creating social realities. The theory asks, what are we making together when we talk? So extremely quick, extremely brief, extremely generalized, and the only factor you get that points toward this book being used is when it says CMM's challenge. And in fact, it's not just CMM, there are multiple people in multiple different schools that are brought into this theory and that it took ideas from. So I feel like it was very brief and could have done a lot better summarizing the points, at least in this case.
And how many points overall did the AI come up for this chapter?
I believe there were 6 in the 6th chapter.
Yeah,
chapter.
So for chapter 6, there was a total of 6 points, and chapter 6 is a lot longer than 6 points. It's a total of 13 pages, I believe.
Pages?
Yeah.
So it's
Wow,
not even
that's
per
really
page.
brief.
It's essentially 1 point or about 1 paragraph per 2 pages.
Okay.
Which is excessively brief for the amount of information which is in here, which could have been worked out if we gave it something like, hey, explain more, but that's something that would need to be played with.
We're going to work on more attempts with AI in the next week. We're going to try to see if we can improve its results.
Yeah, I feel like if we had been able to do things like maybe point 1 is a very interesting point. Could you expound on it a little? Something like that.
See if it would give us more information.
Yeah.
We were talking about how what was it?
LUUUTT model.
That model, how it talked about all the different ways of thinking about how someone went through an exchange, all the told stories, untold stories. I found that part very fascinating. The AI didn't even talk about it. It didn't mention even the acronym, and just what it skipped over and what it decided to actually go on. I feel like some of the points it did go on were kind of like the bolded points of the big headers.
Yeah, definitely.
Names when people were mentioned a couple times, but overall it missed a lot.
Yeah, I did think it was strange because the LUUUTT model is mentioned a ridiculous amount of times in this chapter.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot go a paragraph without it coming up, and yet it is not mentioned once by the AI. And we aren't sure if that's a copyright problem or just, I don't know, AI didn't like it. But for such a crucial building block of the chapter, it is very, very, very strange that that wasn't at least hinted towards. But the AI didn't even pretend it was there, which was very strange.
So when you two were reading chapter 6 or chapter 5, were there parts that you found more interesting than others?
I think the comparison done in the chapter between the CMM's model of communication and others was interesting. I feel like one flaw, and this is me personally, is I feel like they spent so much time explaining the CMM model that they didn't actually give any real basis, study, or citations for the other models. There was lots of here's how CMM contradicts the modern or the common or the whatever idea, but then it's like, is that the modern or common idea?
Yeah.
Like, I'd like to. It's very hard to make a point and make an argument if there's nothing actually standing against it, or if the thing standing against it is something the CMM people created themselves. Because then, of course, yours is going to stand a better chance if the only reason there's another argument is because you made an argument to oppose your own point that's flawed.
Or it's just one of their own old arguments.
I mean, if there's nothing else, that would make sense. But obviously, there's other people who've thought about how communication works. So
yeah,
that was honestly kind of like boring. It made it a little bit hard to read that it would tell us about this model, and then we would just learn more about the model as and think we have to remember this term, but we would have no problem remembering the term because it's all the chapter was about. Like.
Yeah, I feel like maybe to make a stronger point, and again, this is coming out of reading chapters 5 and 6. Obviously, we haven't read the previous chapters, but just coming from these two chapters, I feel like we probably would have had a stronger grounds to hold to the theories or understand them if there was something contradicting it.
I personally liked a whole bit about the stories lived and the stories told. Just the, not contradiction, but the way that depending on how you then tell other people shapes how then you remember it, and is often more across the board the same. Whereas I don't know if you guys have looked into stuff about eyewitness accounts.
Yeah.
How, especially with 9/11, if you ask an American, they will tell you, and they've done a couple studies where they wait like a couple years and they ask the same people again, but they can't really remember the same things, and it's not always the same, but they're very like hard set because it's something culturally that's very important, so it has more weight.
Yeah.
Whereas people outside the country were like, I don't know what I was doing that day. It was a historical event, but I don't know. Just the way that they were talking about culture, framing how you find things important.
Yeah, I think cultural and emotional importance are incredibly crucial to understand, especially in communication, because, when you, as it said, when you communicate, you're creating a universe of sorts. So it makes sense that something like emotions or cultural understanding, which is already part of a reality you are living, would then greatly affect any realities that would come out of a conversation between you and another person. So I thought it was quite interesting, and could go on for quite a bit longer on this chapter for sure, but I think we should probably wrap it up.
How long have we been talking?
Nearly 10
9
So, not too bad.
Okay.
This is Isaiah Sorenson,
Levi Haskell,
And Mahlia Scantlen.
see you later.